want to get into a couple of items here. It's also actually sparking some inspiration for another discussion, is the Pac-Man moon versus the sun. Now, these two things are polar opposites of each other. Doesn't mean that one is necessary for the other. It means that one is necessary to stop the force of one. When you have one thing doing something that is good, it is very necessary to, if you want to halt or hinder the progress of this, it's necessary to create a polar opposite. So that way it disrupts and reconfigures whatever the makeup or the processes or the work that this particular one has as a responsibility over this domain. So let's take a look at what it does and what it's capable of. We know that this flat circle is being beamed beyond the black. We know that it gives off an overwhelming amount of electromagnetic fields within this enclosed space. We know that it sends out circular flat chakra disc out of itself that creates life. These discs form an alignment or a chakra alignment for living beings that line the entire body. You see here you got the S wave coming from Saturn, keeping everything in perfect balance according to your DNA. And then as you get older, this pineal gland or this chakra form of consciousness or this enlightenment or this acknowledgement of life or this awareness is hindered by calcification, which is known to be fluoride and fake calcium pasteurized in your milk and things like that. Now I've done some research. I had to look it up because one of my friends on there said something about fluoride does not necessarily calcify the pineal gland. Well, I didn't know to the full extent of how much it does calcify it, but because I was a little bit uncertain. So when I went and did my research and found out it is specific, it specifically calcifies the pineal gland. So regardless of how we feel about it and how we side with it, we can look back into it, do a little bit more research, and then that will give us hey, more coals to put in the fire. No one's just necessarily right or wrong. I mean, we all went to the same school, we all got lied to. So continuing on, as the person becomes more aware of their surroundings and as they lead closer to the end of their life, you will see this life force exit the body. It forms into a 100% consciousness, which starts out as a chakra alignment that turns into a full consciousness. And then if you are a typical human being, which means you're probably cooking with the heavy metals like stainless steel, iron, and all that, you have a blood source that has a magnetic quality to it. If you ever watch like Quasi-Luminous or any of those cereal specials where they tell you your dry food is magnetic and can be pulled with the neodymium magnet, or can be used in a giant block magnet to absorb large amounts of that dust, which has actually got magnetic particles in it. And if you look it up, I mean, you'll see that your cereal, your dry foods are mostly magnetic. And when you cook in a magnetic pot, it continues to add on to that polarity. So you have to understand that there's no luciferins drinking your blood, because your blood is disgusting. Your blood is magnetic, dude. If you're not cooking with silver and copper and shit like that, you have a magnetic blood source that is very, very high in its magnetic qualities. And it's not bioavailable magnetism. It is unbioavailable, which means that it's not real. It's a free radical. It's a GMO. You know, it's not accessible to the human body. It's not recognized by the body. It's a free radical. So understand that that's why when I walk outside, I can feel the moon pull chi off me, because it sets the stage for a reverse of polarity, where everything is opposite. You understand? It is opposite from the life force. It is responsible for the altering of women's mental cycles. It is responsible for doing the opposite of what the crescent sun does for you, which is not giving you your kingship blessing, which is disrupting it, which is confusing it, which is cubing it, which is, you know, enslaving it. It is the basis of the indoctrination before GMOs were produced in the 1990s. It is the beginning. And GMOs were introduced, yes, way before we even knew. In the 2000s, they had the Monsanto GMO campaign to scare the crap out of everybody. But we were taking GMOs since 1990, 1989. Rest assured that all of these things are happening because this magnetic force, this magnetic pull happens. If you stand like at a beach or at the shoreline, you will see a moon sitting over the shore. And if you stand in front of it, you will see that it has a heavy magnetic pull on you. The same pull that sucks the chi out of my arms and out of my hair that I can feel because I absorb a significant amount of this electromagnetism on a regular basis. And whenever you have, let's talk about the decaying of animals and plants. All right, you have all of the flat earth silicone trees chopped down all at once. They don't grow back. Before the trees were chopped down, there was no moon present. In the 1400s, it was recorded that there was no moon present when those trees were actually around. When the settlers came and they were looking around, the trees were around, there was no moon present. Now tell me, when there's no moon and the trees are growing, what stops them from growing? The moon. As simple as that. So you got your tree stump not growing back. You got decaying matter, which only patinas in the sun. It becomes leathery, it becomes encapsulated, it becomes petrified. It putrefies, it distills, it cleans up, it wipes away, it bleaches, it cleans. The sun does that. The moon creates decay. It creates manic anger and animosity between individuals, especially if you're drinking. It can enhance these mental disruptions. So you know, there's no hard feelings or anything like that. I just want people to understand that I understand this shit. I understand what the moon is. I understand that it does not spin on an axis. I understand that it's fake. I understand that it's not necessary. I understand that my telescope can see stars through it, which means that it's a construct. And before it showed up, everything was better. I mean, you had nothing but eternal life. You had nothing but eternal life and consciousness. It wouldn't matter if your chakra had a magnetic thing on it or not, that you were eating heavy metal pots, because it wouldn't make a difference. Well, actually, it wouldn't make a difference because your polarity of your chi has been reversed inward with the magnetic reverse of its own polarity with the food that you consume that has the magnetic elements added to it. So that's not something that your body should have. You should be able to exude and excrete this chi. And I believe that that is the biggest part of it. That's the reason why a lot of people don't have the natural ability to move stuff with their minds and shit like that. It's because of everything that has been done already to you to disrupt you from this birthright. So, you know, I suggest everybody just kind of look into it a little deeper if you have any time. Most of us don't. Most of us are slaving away right now as we speak. Most of us are fucking exhausted. You know, people don't really have a lot of time to look into this. But I suggest you do. So you have life and you have death. And it is the Pac-Man moon. It's the Pac-Man moon. It swallows the orbs and spits them back into the game with no memory. Otherwise, you would have everlasting life and full-on consciousness and development. And any time that you would come back into a reincarnated state, you would only get better and better. You would only benefit this place for the benefit of all. You would learn your lesson from the lives before, and you would excel as a human spirit and conscious. So Something to think about. Pac-Man Moon. Stay awake.